The word swami means master. It comes from the word Goswami. Go means senses, and Goswami means one who is a master of his senses. Godas is the opposite. Godas means servant of the senses. So you can either be a master of the senses or you can be a servant of the senses. Yeah. But in order to be a master of the senses, because being a servant of the senses isn't much fun, actually. In order to be a master of the senses, you have to become a servant of God. Rishikesha Rishikenam Sevanam Bhaktir Uchyate. Krishna, or God, is ultimate master, and if we serve him, then we can control our senses. Why is being a servant of the senses no good? Well, that you cannot satisfy the senses. So imagine being a servant of a master that cannot be satisfied. Well, if you look deeper into our lives, that's really what is happening. That we are in a situation where we're trying to serve the senses, trying to engage in sense gratification. Engaging in sense gratification is compared to pouring petrol on a fire. There's a burning desire to gratify the senses, whether it's sexual or the sense of the tongue, the taste that you desire, or filling the belly, or whatever it may be. The urges of the senses are there, and it's compared to a fire. And obviously if you pour petrol on a fire, it's just going to exacerbate it. Although petrol is liquid, so you might think, I'm pouring a liquid onto the fire. So in the same way, you think there's an itch that I need to scratch, and there's an urge of the senses, and I need to satisfy that urge. But that won't give you satisfaction. Just like scratching an itch doesn't give you satisfaction. It's very temporary relief, and then the itch gets worse. Just like pouring petrol on a fire. So yeah, it's a problem, and one would never associate controlling the senses with enjoyment. And how do you get enjoyment? By not doing something. I mean, like not engaging in the sensual pleasure, just abstaining. How do you get pleasure from that? Well, you don't, and that's not the process. The process is, as I said, to serve God with your senses, starting with the tongue. You can say the name of God and then use your ears to listen to the name of God. And in that way you dovetail something material which can entangle you in the material world. Any one of the senses can entangle you in the material world. Simply the desire to eat tasty food could entangle you in the material world. And could keep you bound up in this cycle of struggling to get enjoyment through the senses. And the reason why it's a struggle is because it's temporary. It just goes away again, that sensation goes away again, and then you have to try again and get something else, and You get stuck in this cycle of being unsatisfied. But through using your senses in the service of God, you tap into an unconditional, unlimited, and eternal happiness from within. And if you've ever met a swami, then you'll know what I'm talking about. These are the nicest people you'll meet. Well, I've met the Hare Krishna Swami, so I can only speak for what I've experienced. They're the nicest people I've met. Very relaxed, very chilled, not dependent on material sense gratification. Another thing about being dependent on material sense gratification is that you actually have this kind of mentality of scarcity. You kind of feel like, I need something to satisfy my senses, and I don't want someone else to take it. I need it. There isn't enough to go around. And it can be a very practical thing, like there's a certain number of sweets lying around and I need my share. If somebody else takes my share, then I'll be less happy. But when you tap into the internal, unconditional, everlasting, unlimited happiness that's within, then you don't have that struggle, you don't have that competition with others. Yeah. So, becoming a master of the senses, what a nice goal to have. It actually benefits you in all areas of your life. Your relationships, in every area of your life will be benefited, because you're not competing. You're self-satisfied in a sense, and you just want to share that with your the person that you have a relationship with. You don't have to compete. Controlling the senses. So as we said, it's not about abstinence. It's not about just giving something up and not doing something. It's actually all about focusing on the positive and what you should do, not what you shouldn't do. So you have an urge, and then that can be dovetailed. You can do that in the service of God. Sex life can be controlled and regulated. You get married, you have one partner. You try to have children, you raise those children in a particular way with certain values, spiritual values, spiritual priorities. And then the whole act becomes, the whole act of sex becomes purified in a sense, because you're linking everything to God. Same way with eating. You can make a nice meal and you don't taste it while you're cooking, and then you offer that meal to the Lord. He has senses, he can accept it, and we take the remnants. And that way the whole process of eating, of shopping, of cooking becomes purified. And so in a very practical way, you can control the senses and use the senses for a higher purpose. Yeah. Become a swami. It's very attainable. It's not something for the select few. Of course, you don't have to become a swami wearing orange clothes and being celibate. You can become a swami in the sense that your senses are controlled, and without the external of the swamidom, so to speak. But these are important things. We need to think about how to improve our lives. Yeah. Our lives should have a higher purpose, not just for the temporary pleasures of this world. Because we can have a higher purpose. We have that potential. We're spiritual beings. It's part of our reality, whether we are aware of it or not. But we can become aware of it more and more, of that reality, that spiritual reality. And we can start to mold our lives and gear our activities towards fulfilling that purpose, living up to our true full potential of not just living for the here and now on the material platform, but understanding the here and now much deeper.